something going on. I feel funny.
Drapes and Jay, Sactown Sports 1140. The Drive guys take you up to 6 o'clock. My guy, Kevin Whitey Gleason, is out sick again. Hopefully he feels better and is back tomorrow. It's my pleasure to welcome in our Sactown Sports 1140 Insider. You can check out his work, obviously, on the web, on social media, wherever you want your Sacramento Kings info. Brenden Nunes joining us. Brenden, first of all, thanks for jumping on. Before we get to last night's game, big fella, do we got a return to the Roar tonight at 6 o'clock?
We do. Thanks for having me on, Drapes. Yeah, myself, Frankie, and Chris all going to be running Return of the Roar 6 p.m., 7 p.m. every Tuesday.
All right, make sure you stick around for that. Obviously, going to be a great show. Let's talk about last night. I felt, Brenden, when I told Jay this, when I looked at it, I felt like everybody did something last night when they stepped on the floor. Even Devin Carter, 2 for 6 from free throws, 0 for 1 from the field. So what? He had 4 steals. How do you feel like as a team, not just individuals, as a team, they performed last night?
Yeah, I think you got a great point. It was a little bit of everybody. You point out that 2 of 6 from Devin Carter on the free throw line. I got to say, I didn't realize that number. You don't love that. But
right.
You'll take the 4 steals. He's been playing well. You also got 2 steals from Jake LaRavia, a little bit of Zach LaVine joked kind of a revenge game, 12 points, 4-7 from the field. He was super active out there, defending a handful of different guys. I thought that, you got good playmaking from DeMar with his 8 assists. You could just look down the assist line even. 6 from LaVine, 7 from Malik, 4 from Domas in his 12 minutes before he went down. You got 3 from Jonas, 2 from Devin, 3 from Keon in there. Jake participated in that. He got 35 assists on 46 made shots, shooting 52% from the field. So definitely a night where you got a little bit from everybody out there. Trey Lyles played a great game. When Domas goes down, they end up closing with him instead of Jonas Valanciunas. So getting that sort of bench production, specifically from, I thought, Trey Lyles, Devin Carter, and Jake LaRavia, was definitely big last night.
B-Noon, as you talk about the second unit, I definitely got to show some love to the starters as well. As me and Drapes talked about it a little earlier, this team has stumbled out the gates. They're like a horse that just can't find their giddy up until, second quarter a lot of times. What's your thoughts on the starters and how they came out and played yesterday?
Yeah, definitely played well. You put up 37 points in that first quarter. You got to feel good. I thought that they were moving the ball pretty well. Malik Monk, a couple early turnovers, and then I thought he kind of cleaned it up from there. 2 of his 3 in that first quarter, kind of forcing the ball to the roller and the pick and roll. But DeMar got guys involved really early. I want to say he had 4 or 5 assists in that first quarter. The ball was moving really well, and I thought everybody got involved. There was no one guy sort of stealing the show necessarily, like I think that we've seen for stretches. And there's moments where that's fitting when someone's on fire and you got the offensive firepower that Sacramento does have right now. But I think playing as a cohesive unit definitely helps when you have that much versatility and just offensive talent out there. So I thought they did that well in that first quarter, and playing some defense definitely helps as well. I think that's a big part of last night's win. In that 4-game losing streak, you were giving up above 50% in every single one of those games to your opponents from the field. You hold Memphis to just under 50, 48.9% last night, but 26 in that first quarter definitely helps you score the 37 that they did.
Brenden, you brought up, and we're talking to Brenden Nunes, our Sactown Sports 1140 Insider. You brought up Malik Monk. I feel like he sort of, at least over the last week during this losing streak, has been sort of the whipping boy for everybody. Oh, he needs to go back to the bench. We need a real point guard. Can you just talk about this last week for Malik? And really, if we're talking these last 15 games coming, what we need from him in that point guard role?
Yeah, last night he even talked about those. I mentioned he had 2 turnovers early. He ends the night with 3. That's something he talked about in post-game, something he said that he has to clean that mess up. And, he's still pretty early into his career. Like, Steph Curry, I guess, is the extreme example and a little bit of an outlier, but Steph came around pretty late in his career. Malik's only 27. And to just take on this starting point guard role, we've seen the talent that he has as a passer, I think specifically hitting the roller in the pick and roll. But that can continue to develop as he gets more comfortable with this responsibility. And I think it's something he's going to get better at. 7 assists last night. Those turnovers are, I think, what need to be honed down a little bit, though. As the orchestrator of everything out there, as the primary point guard, I think you got to be sort of calm and composed, which aren't exactly adjectives I think typically fit Malik Monk's style, which, is that there's pros and cons. Him being bold out there, I think, leads to some great moments for sure, but a little bit different when you're in that primary point guard spot. So, mixed bag so far. I think that when he can't lose his scoring aggressiveness in the process of all of that, obviously, because that's what makes him the great player that he is. But I think it's something that he definitely can, and I would bet probably will get better at over time.
The Tasmanian Devil, a.k.a. Devin Carter, that we've come to know to call him here all of a sudden. B. Noon, he's starting to get a little more run. Seems like Doug is believing in him a little bit more, coming off the bench, playing in spurts. He had a good run last night, been playing some good defense. What's your thoughts on Devin Carter so far? Started off the season, of course, on the injured reserve, played in the G League. I know you've had opportunities to see him down there as well. What's your thoughts on him playing a vital role right now?
Yeah, he's playing 10.3 minutes over the last 6 games, played in each one of them. They're going with him over Markelle Fultz. Obviously, when Malik was out for a little bit there, I think that led to Devin getting a little bit more run. But, that's obviously everybody knows the negatives of injuries, but the pros, as Doug has pointed out before, is it gives other guys some opportunity. And then you get healthy and those other guys are more comfortable going back to their smaller roles and contributing. And I think that you're seeing Devin start to get that. It's easy for people to sort of write him off, but this guy didn't play for so much of his rookie year. He's just now sort of getting his feet wet. Cooks every time he goes down to Stockton, and I think that you're seeing him get a little bit more comfortable. Some of the definitely defensive stuff. I thought that Jake, the lineup, with Jake LaRavia, Keon Ellis, and Devin Carter out there, I thought just totally caused havoc. I think it's there's a nickname that I'm totally forgetting right now that Tari Eason and
I just heard it today
Amen
too.
Thompson have. For
terror
Houston,
something.
The Terror Twins.
Yeah,
that's what it is. And I think we need a nickname for Devin Carter and Keon Ellis because those guys are out there causing havoc, forcing turnovers, and that leads to good things offensively, even if that's not maybe where their skill set really resides. So I still think Devin's going to be a really good player. And as you're seeing this hole at the point guard position, I think that's something that, even though he's more of a combo guard at 2, that he can continue to get better at here still early into his rookie season.
Obviously, a great win last night, but, the ugly part of it was the injury to Domantas Sabonis. Still waiting word on Domas's injury status and what's going on with that right ankle. When you saw the play, and I know you looked back at it a few times, how'd you feel about it? And, based on what it looked like, we might be without him at least for a few games.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you don't love it. You see it's hard to tell with ankles how much, that ankle is, I guess, touching court when he's driving there. But it was a tough night overall, man. I mean, that gash that he got earlier in the game above his left eye as well, that was looked like he just came out of a UFC fight with that one. And then deals with the ankle injury. So like you said, not really sure on a timeline, but when you see him sort of show that level of pain, when I think typically Domas is, the tough guy that I think we all know him to be, and not show that you definitely worry that what's going on. And the video that the broadcast caught of him sort of collapsing in the tunnel on the way to the locker room, struggling to put weight on it. Not the greatest signs, but we'll see. I didn't think the non-contact hamstring strain looked very good, and that only ended up being a week for Domas. So we'll see. He's a tough guy. He wants to be out there. I will say, keep a close monitor on if he's going to make that All-NBA eligibility.
Ooh,
I got to see off the top of my head how many games he's at. He's got to get up to 65. He's at 58 right now. So keep an eye on that All-NBA eligibility for him. But I think this is part of the reason that he had Jonas Valanciunas. We saw it when Domas was out that recent stretch. He's a guy that is a starting caliber center, can step in and fill that void. And honestly, it might be even easier for some of these guys that are still looking to adjust. I think Levine has played really well off of Jonas Valanciunas because he's allowed to just have the ball in his hands and get great screens from that ginormous dude down there. So I think Jonas helps a lot. Keep an eye on if Domas is going to meet that All-NBA eligibility.
Joined by Brenden Nunes, Sac Sports 1140 Kings Insider. Last one, me for B Noon. The obligatory. It seems like every single time we have you on, there is what's the outlook of this team? Is it going to be a positive situation if they make the play in? Should they break it down, rebuild? And I see you on social network always kind of answering and proposing those questions. So I'm going to leave it up to you here as I walk out the door. If they make a play in and maybe win the first game and maybe lose it, don't enter the final 8, what's your thoughts? If they get to the playoffs and get smoked in the first round, what's your thoughts? Where is the soft landing spot for this team with 15 games left?
Yeah, Jay, I think the tough thing to figure out there is that there's so much potential change that could happen even beyond the roster, right? Like, we don't know what's going to go on with Doug Christie. We don't know what's going to, even though I think that there's a good chance that Doug ends up keeping that job, but there could be turnover in the front office. I think, the athletic piece where they put out that Domas has questions about what the future of this organization looks like, and he may want to address that this summer. How does DeMar DeRozan feel about, being on sort of the last back nine of his career and trying to be in a competitive situation? And, the Kings honestly haven't really provided that for him in the way that he may have expected. So I think it's a little hard to project out what this offseason may look like, but that scenario you laid out, you win one playing game, lose the second, don't make the playoffs. I think that would definitely leave a sour taste in people's mouths. And honestly, a lot of organizations, I think across sports in general, tend to sort of overreact to how their seasons end. And I don't think that would mean that the Kings look to reset, though. You guys know just as well as I do, if not better, the history of this organization and how long that they've struggled. I don't think that they fully want to reset. And I think that, honestly, probably no matter how this season ends, unless it's some glorious finish where, they have a Cinderella story in some sort of way, I think that we're probably headed towards, conversations of, can we get involved for some big trade, moving some of these draft capital, the 2031 Minnesota pick that they got in the Fox trade being sort of the key piece there, and DeMar DeRozan's salary, and, can you get in the KD conversation? I don't think they can, but I think that they're going to try to. Is Trae Young going to be somebody? Now you have a hole at point guard, and you can look to try to fill that, So I think that they're going to try to continue to go big name hunting, really,
Wow.
and possibly use that DeMar DeRozan contract or some of these other guys. But I think DeMar is probably the most likely where you try and make a change there.
All right, our guy Brenden Nunes, you can check him out on the Return of the Roar coming up tonight at 6 o'clock with Chris Watkins and Frankie Cardicelli. Appreciate you, man. Good work as always. We'll check in with you next time.
Appreciate y'all. Have a good one.
Our guy Brenden Nunes, you can always follow him on social media, Brenden Nunes NBA. When we come back, we'll get to the phone lines, 916-339-1140. How you feeling, Sacramento Kings fans? Domas still waiting for an update on his status as the Kings get ready to take on the Cavaliers. It's more Drive Guys coming up next on Sactown Sports 1140.
Did you know colon cancer can be detected